All right, so let's close this deal. Let's get it done with. I'm trying to be positive as I can, because I know my son is out there. Her son is out there. Out where? Alive or not? The script begins, I struggle. That's the theme. She's explaining to us how much she struggles. And she spends a lot of energy on explaining how much she struggles rather than just saying how she feels. If somebody says, how do you feel? Is it really that difficult to tell you how you feel? To tell somebody how you feel? I don't think so. I mean, if you ask me a question that has to do with, that requires me to go into a lot of details and recollect things, and that's a different story. But what we're talking about are simple questions. How do you feel? So why would somebody feel the need to hide how they really feel? Because the more words you use to mask the few things that you say that are genuine, I mean, there's something hidden. If somebody gives a statement, a clear denial, did you kill your wife? No, I did not. I did not kill my wife. And the answer, somebody else's answer is, well, no. Well, what makes you say that? I mean, I know there are stories out there, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there is something hidden here. The more words they use when simple questions are asked, you need to flag that and look at exactly what they're saying, what unnecessary information they are giving you. Of course, you're supposed to struggle in general. That's expected. But what she's struggling with is to find words. Yes, she's struggling to find words. If you have very strong feelings and strong emotions that overshadow everything else, it's not a struggle to find words. How do you feel about your son being missing? I am out of my mind. Please help me. Whatever comes to mind is going to be okay. So it's not expected to struggle to find any words. And especially not to waste anybody's time explaining that you struggle to find the right words. You're here for your son. You're not here to give a speech about your area of expertise. I may struggle to find words at times to describe phenomena that I have been dealing with for a very long time, but how to describe it in a way that demands for me to remember how I have once learned these things. Yeah, there are little struggles here and there, but I'm not telling you guys that. That's insignificant, because you as the listener are expecting from me to share what I have learned at one point, and also share everything else that I'm learning as I go along, because nobody has this 100%. Every week there are new discoveries in statement analysis. There are new cases which shine new lights on why people say the things that they say. And as I've said, what I am already doing right now, I am going into the specific patterns of Mrs. Katie Proudfoot. When she says, she is remembering her script. It means, let me take a break right now. Okay, I got it. I struggled to find words. She said it before already. She's reheating it because it worked so well the first time in her own mind to even describe. I can't even describe how it feels anymore. What does that mean? Was she able to describe how she felt at one point? And that got her into trouble? There were too many red flags that I pointed out, and others, that you realize you're now done describing anything. You cannot do it anymore because every time you do it, something is being pointed out. You reveal who you are. You reveal what you have been a part of. Can't even describe. Really. I can't even describe. Let's remember this until later. Because it's a living nightmare. She's living, he's not. She has to live through this. The aftermath. She still got Chris on her side, right? But for how long? Chris will break. I'm telling you, have you seen the Casey Anthony video where she's reintroducing herself in her own words? And she now wants to be an LGBT advocate, and yeah, that's sociopathy, people. The same way O.J. Simpson, also a sociopath. The same way he went on Twitter as if nothing had ever happened. Knowing the whole world is against you, but still unable to mediate, unable to say, okay, even to acknowledge anything. A sociopath cannot admit guilt because their entire existence, their fraudulent ways of having gone through life, covering up who they are, would be unraveled, and it would be too much for them to take, which is why sociopathy is considered not healable. I'm not talking about psychopathy or narcissism or any of the other of these terms that are so frequently overused and sometimes used as swear words almost. No, I'm not saying sociopath to insult anybody, but she is truly, in my opinion, a sociopath, which is why there are statements of hers which register as reliable, and when Chris says almost the same thing, it shows as deceptive. She's able to do that, and a lot of people were fooled and were led to suspect Chris or focus more on Chris. And of course I focus on Chris because Katie doesn't say a lot, but here she does say a few things. It's a living nightmare, to be honest with you. Or really, you have to convince me that you're going through hell because your son is missing? What is wrong with this picture? If they try to convince you, something is wrong because they feel their statements cannot stand on their own and be convincing enough. And convincing anybody of anything should not be the priority. And she has never, as far as I know, even mentioned the reward money. Wouldn't you say that? Wouldn't you say, whatever the numbers, 50,000, 345,000, whatever the number may be, if it was $25, you would say, look, I'm giving an extra $5,000. Here, please, anybody, anybody, if you know who did it, if you know anything, please, here, that's enough money to maybe tell on your friend who you know has my son, something like that, to be honest with you. And now, guess what she's saying? But at the end of the day, it's not about me. Really? It's not about you? Wow. I never would have thought that. You need to explain to me that it's not about you? Really? It was never about you. It should have never been about you. But it tells me that every single interview you've given was exactly about only you. You and your husband. And it's at the end of the day. What happened at the end of the day? Because the day was good. We had a really good day. I believe you. And later, the language changed. Everything was we together, our, and then it was he, I, and she said, When I told him to go to bed, he did. Ha ha ha. She starts to laugh. And at other in other interviews, her language reveals there was an issue. He did not want to go to bed. He couldn't go to bed. He was overstimulated and he had a lot of sugary stuff. And you didn't want to tell us, Chris Proudfoot, how much medicine or what he took that night. You told us every single day, every daily and nightly he took medicine, but that specific night you're telling us, I cannot talk about it. Which is his pattern? To say, I cannot talk about it. That's when you need to look at it. Everybody has a different pattern. And now, after all this time, the patterns of Chris and Katie Proudfoot become more and more obvious. It's not about me. Wow. So who is it about? It's about... She doesn't say it's about Sebastian. She says it's about the fact that Sebastian is out there. That is very different, people. Very different. This is not about me. This is about my son. This is about Sebastian. She does not say that. She cannot get herself to say that. It's not about me. It's about the fact that Sebastian is out there. Again, she says out there. Is he alive or not? Yes, the fact that he is out there, that is the problem. And you've told us again and again, evidence is your priority. That's what this is about. The fact that Sebastian is out there, because of whom? Because of you? Yes, we want to know where Sebastian is and what happened to him. That's her problem. That's what she's telling us. Unfortunately to her, it's not about her, but the fact that we want answers and she doesn't want to give them to us, and that we're looking for him. Yes, she's very eager to put this one in there because she's not looking for him. We know that. They have not been a part of the searches or the vigil for him. She has to throw this in, that we are looking for him. No, you're not. And we are gonna keep looking for him, really, until when? And we're gonna keep praying to God, invoking deity. That's also something that needs to be flagged. How can you keep looking if you haven't even started? Hanging up flyers. Did you actually hang up flyers yourself, or did you walk into the businesses and saw their flyers already? I'm assuming in Hendersonville people are handing out a lot of flyers. You look at all the mass amounts of people that are searching for Sebastian. I would think that every single store, every single business, every supermarket has flyers there in that area. That's just my expectation. And that we are looking for him, and we're gonna keep looking for him. And we're gonna keep praying to God that he is okay. Right. And we're gonna, you see, whenever she does the doubles, remember when she says and, she's working herself up. When she says she's moving into a script that she's memorizing. And then when she says a word twice, it's a crescendo coming. And there we go now. Bring him home. The phrase again. The phrases of she struggles, she's honestly, and bring him home. These have been the themes so far in this interview. Now we've gone this long and haven't found him. Honestly, okay, so this is a different question where she is asked, why do you think it's taken so long, or why you think your son is still not found? Or what baffles you the most? Because the interviewer, she's talking about, well, This case has been baffling the world. It's baffling everybody. And what baffles you? And she says, how we've gone this long and haven't found him. Honestly, I don't understand. How we've gone this long and still haven't found him, honestly, I don't understand. I don't understand how we haven't found him yet. Yet. Are you expecting to find him? Or are you playing with us? How can it be we haven't found him yet? Just that is her indicating it's time for Chris to take over. When she says just, I wouldn't be surprised if that was kind of their code, that when she says just, you take over. So I don't have to bump you, though. I don't have to give you a more obvious signal that people will detect. So this is our script, people. How we've gone this long and still haven't found him. Honestly. Right. You want to convince us that you are baffled. You want to convince us that you really don't know. And now she gives us more of that. There she's indicating the struggle. That's the real struggle, meaning I don't know what to say, I'm done. I don't understand how we haven't found him yet. Is she telling us that she expected a different outcome, or that she's surprised that nobody actually has been able to figure it out, or rather that the right people haven't been able to figure it out, and that she is still a free person? Yes, it baffles her. It baffles her that things went so smoothly. Is that what it is? By the way, everything I'm stating is my opinion only, and I'm doing my best to clarify how I have formed my opinions, or rather my thoughts. So she's telling us Sebastian is out there, that they're going to keep looking for him. She's gonna pray, invoking deity. Remember now Patsy Ramsey, oh God, God help me, or whatever she said. Yes, people, there are people who pray and who mention it, but when you overly mention it in the middle of a conversation, not in terms of actually going down on your knees and praying. Has she said, please pray for my son? She wants to convince you she is praying to God, that he is okay. It's about her. She's telling you it's not about me. Really, you need to, if you feel the need to explain, to tell people it's not about you when your child is missing, that is the strongest indicator it is to you about you. You are about yourself. And especially when you say, but at the end of the day, we want to know what happened at the end of the day. That started really good. What exactly happened? And she's not saying, the phrases we use, yes, you can say that the thing, what we need to remember in statement analysis is that the types of phrases that are often used in the English language, just figurative speech or slang or whatever, there are so many ways that we can express the same thing. But which one of these we choose often depends on experiential memory sneaking in. Something coming to us, especially when we struggle to find the right word, something we can relate to. It's not easy to completely make up a story out of thin air. and just run the script down and seem halfway emotional. It's much easier to put a little bit in there that gives you a point of reference of something that actually took place, something that you feel connected to, because then you're able to say, okay, let me say it again. And you say it pretty much the same way, very similarly, because experiential memory doesn't need a script. And that's the struggle in her case. The experiential memory and the script, and especially when experiential memory interrupts her script and sneaks in there. It's not easy for her to do this. It is a real struggle for her, and the fact that her son is out there, that is what it's about. Because the fact that he's out there is the reason she has all these issues to deal with. Chris much more so. But she may worry if Chris is gonna stay with her. How are things gonna be? And they don't have the time of their life like they thought they would have. They're probably stuck in the house. I don't think there's too much of a social life that you can have when the whole world thinks, or most people think, you had something to do with the disappearance of your son. Crimes are forgiven. Crimes against children are not. And time is not on your side. The more people get to think you did something to your child, the worse it's going to get. So now Chris gets the hint, in my opinion. And now he takes over. I think it was about the baffling. What baffles you the most? That's tough to say. I mean, it was the largest manhunt in Tennessee history for a child. There he goes again. The largest manhunt. And that's what baffles Chris Proudfoot. How after all this time, they haven't found anything yet. He is amazed by that. And you can look at my previous videos why I think that is. But this is not about Chris Proudfoot. This is about how baffled Chris Proudfoot is. The best part is that he did this without leaving any evidence behind whatsoever. That's what it's about for him. Sebastian left no evidence. Well, Sebastian didn't go poof. Somebody left no evidence. And bragging about how big of a manhunt this was indicates that it was bragging to tell us that no evidence was left behind whatsoever. And he's telling us again, and absolutely, not just zero evidence, like Katie would say, but absolutely zero evidence. He knows he's not that safe. He knows that. He knows that things may change because he doesn't know what tomorrow's answers may bring. He doesn't know that. Even though there's zero evidence, because he feels things are closing in. And he realizes people are not going away. People are not going to forget about it. It looked like it a year ago, no, not a year, but maybe 8 months ago, I think. Things were slowing down. And people were talking about the case a lot less. But again, Dog the Bounty Hunter and a couple other people used their popularity to bring attention back. I remember Doug was on the Lauren Conlin podcast, I think a few days after I was on her podcast. At the time he had no idea about the case, made a few statements, Pretty generic, but probably, look close to home. That was a suggestion. I don't know about that, but it doesn't really matter. The fact that somebody used his popularity to bring the case back to people's attention made a huge difference, and that's what the Proudfoots didn't expect. Which is why their so-called PI, has such an issue with Dog the Bounty Hunter and anybody associated with him. Maybe, allegedly, I don't know anything. So, zero evidence. Now Chris says the following: there's nothing out there. Katie said my son is out there. Katie said the fact that Sebastian is out there. Chris Proudfoot tells us that there is nothing out there. So both of them may have a different pattern of using out there. It could be to Katie out there gone history in the heavens or in the stars or whatever. We all have a different way of associating certain phrases. Sometimes it depends on our belief or our upbringing, and many times it can even change. The patterns can change as we get older and, for example, become more who we really are. Meaning that maybe some people grew up very religious and it shows in their pattern of speech, and as they get older, that speech changes because they may move away from their own beliefs, at least a little bit, and vice versa. Some people who don't grow up religious, they find religion, as they say, and I'm keeping this as neutral as I can, because what's interesting to me is how a pattern can change. How does Katie Proudfoot usually speak? That's what I'm interested in. I would love to have an audio of her or anything from before Sebastian went missing. Some of you told me she, according to the school system, the school district, she had quite a mouth on her. I don't know, allegedly, I don't know about that. I don't look into these things too much on purpose because I want to focus on the language alone, but I'm always happy when facts are brought my way, when they're actual facts. How does she usually talk? Does she pray to God? What is her pattern normally? Is she normally holding back as much as she had been in previous interviews where she just lets Chris talk? Is that her regular pattern? I would like to know. If any of you can tell me where I can find something, it would be deeply appreciated, honestly. And now I say honestly. No, I mean it. I would deeply appreciate it. I'm not sure it's out there because I haven't heard it yet. And now I'm saying out there. But anyways, I've spent a lot of time on these people. And I am now realizing that, of course, Sebastian was nothing to Chris. What's out there? Who's out there? My son, Sebastian. Chris, who's out there? Nothing. Nothing worth mentioning. So it can be that he considers Sebastian absolutely nothing. It can be that there really is nothing out there in his opinion because he can't imagine anybody finding anything, while Katie can. Like he said, he's a black and white kind of guy. Remember? Not Katie. She thinks about possibilities and she's interested in stuff like this. She's interested in finding out. She has a natural curiosity, like her son had, by the way, to find out things she doesn't know. And I can just tell. Sorry, but this is the only way I will put it. I can, of course, her language indicates it as well. But after a while, it's become obvious to me that she is a very curious person and holding back, while Chris is out there. He's putting it all on the table. What you see is what you get, and that's all there is. There is not that much more. She's deep. Katie is deep. There's a lot of regressed, there's a lot of hidden emotions coming from her childhood as well. Very complex personality, simply similar to Casey Anthony. Showing me that Casey Anthony is on her last leg. She can no longer stand the silence. She needs to be out there. She needs to communicate. She has an issue with being in the position she is in. She's free, but she's not. Same with these two people, Katie and Chris. They're free of Sebastian, but they're not free, and they're not going to be. And that's what's sinking in now. Nothing out there. Law enforcement is working, I think, due diligently, he said. I'm not sure. They are working hard over and over and over. He says it 3 times. Over and over and over. Again, it's a form of bragging. They're doing what they can, and then some, and then some. And still, they haven't found out what is going on. They may know, or think they know, but they didn't collect the evidence in the beginning. They treated it like a runaway case. And this may embarrass them very much. You know, we appreciate everything they do. Great, but they haven't found Sebastian, so don't appreciate it too much, right? Why don't you make some suggestions where they can look? Oh no, if I'm going to tell you where to look and they find him, then they're going to say, I knew where he was and I did it. That's what Chris Proudfoot told us. It indicates that he actually could tell us. But he doesn't want to, because there is a danger, and the danger is for him. And it's not about danger for Sebastian, because Sebastian is beyond help. Active investigation, don't want to get into it, of course. Now the sensitive point is hit. Now he says, okay, I said already too much. He recognizes that he's back into boasting and probably been advised to stop doing it, maybe by Katie. Maybe he actually finally realized, this is not going well for me. I need to stop. And you can tell his whole demeanor has changed now. Amount of people who still don't know, he's talking about the amount of people who still don't know about your son when you yourself haven't gone to the vigil, when you yourself haven't gone out searching. And so many, how many people searched? Hundreds? There are still people in the documentary that sing songs of praise and pray, and they actually pray to God. They don't talk about, I pray to God. They say, God, help us reveal the truth, or something like that. And these people really believe in that. So they are doing, in their powerlessness, what power they think they can hold on to in order to help find Sebastian. And they don't tell you at the end of the day, it's not about Katie, it's about the fact that Sebastian is out there. They don't say that. They will say, when you ask them, what is this all about? It's about Sebastian. Very simple. It's about Sebastian. It's about finding him. No, not bringing him home. Home was where the hell was. This is not about bringing him home. That was not a real home for him. I agree that there needs to be more done about school bullying. Yes. But what when the bullying is happening in your safety zone at home? Is that even worse? When you come home and the real danger begins and you don't even understand why you're being beaten? And she said, when he's angry, he growls. That's desperation. That is a child who on the one hand has fear and physically cannot do anything against Chris Proudfoot, but just screams their pain out. That's what the home life was like. And somebody corrected me recently that it was 6 CPS reports. 6. Yeah, who's counting? I mean, that's you already had me at 2 or 3. That's when I already realized, if you have one and maybe things will change from them on, and there are families where the husband's an alcoholic or whatever, and he comes home and does something bad or gets physical, and after that CPS visit, he tries to get counseling or those cases exist, but not here. Again and again and again and again and again. They came. They had to come. Sebastian was getting better at identifying the issues at home, and they didn't let go. They approached him again and again, and they said, how are things now? Probably. And Sebastian probably had a lot more to tell. How many pages, I forgot how many pages it was, about the situation at home. Is that a home? The goal is to bring him home? No, that's not my goal. My goal is to find him, living or not. That is the goal. The second goal is find out what happened, but by any means not ever return him where he had all the problems that resulted or escalated towards this.